Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, and welcome to our AMA with Anthony Hayes. This AMA is Ken Hollywood meets Web3. And as usual, that our community is not only a community of investors, but also a community of people who would like to know what they are all about with regards to crypto. And so we're going to have a background check with regards to what we're doing here, just to give you a little understanding of what we are talking about here. And in order to do that, we have to touch on a few important words. The first word that I like to start is Hollywood. So, the title of the current chat is Hollywood meets Web3. We might have people from a few parts, from certain parts of the world. They might not know what Hollywood is. I assume everybody knows, but what is Hollywood? Hollywood is a neighborhood in central Los Angeles, California. Its name has come to be a shorthand reference for the United States film industry and the people associated with it. Many notable film studios like Warner Bros., Paramount, and even Universal still have their studios there. An example of Hollywood movies that you might have seen are movies like Avatar, Titanic, and the famous Avenger Infinity War. The next major point that we have is Web3. Some people might not really know what Web3 is. They might have heard about it, but are not fully certain what that is. So, what is Web3? So, Web3 is a term that was coined by the Ethereum co-founder Gavin Woods. It's also known as Web 3.0, and it's just an idea for a version of the internet that is decentralized and based on peer-to-peer technology, such as the public blockchains. And it incorporates concepts like token-based economics. Now, we have had a few commentators argue that Web3 will provide increased data security, scalability, and privacy, you know, of users and combat the influence of large technology companies. So if you're out there wondering what Web3 is, there you go. And the last but most important component of this conversation is Anthony Hayes. Who is Anthony Hayes? So if you do not know, Anthony Hayes is an Australian actor, best known for his roles in The War Machine, The Lie Between Oceans, The Slap, um, Look Both Ways, The Boys, Rabbit Proof Fence, Animal Kingdom, and a soap opera titled Paradise Bitch, if I'm not mistaken. Mr. Anthony, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. So we will start. I like to give a background check. Anytime I hold an AMA, I like to touch on important points. Just make a few people understand what we're all about, just in case they don't know. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, my name's. It was a good introduction. Thank you. My name's Anthony Hay. I'm fully doxed. I'm out there. I have been in the film industry since I was 9 years old. Started off as an actor. You gave a bunch of my credits, like War Machine with Brad Pitt and The Rover with Robert Pattinson, and the last thing I just completed about 4 weeks ago was the Robbie Williams biopic, which was directed by the director of The Greatest Showman, which was cool. And then this year, a film came out that I produced and co-wrote and directed called Gold. And Gold starred Zac Efron and myself. And so I'm a actor, filmmaker, been in the film industry my whole life, and really wanted to bring the film industry and Web3 together in a very meaningful way for a number of reasons, which we can get into. But that's my background.
Awesome, awesome. I always say that sometimes when it comes to investing in projects, it's important that people do their background check, and one of it is knowing who you're giving your money to, and it's good to know that you have a very solid resume. My first question to you is why Web3? What was the inspiration behind, the entire retrogression project?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's the reason I'm here. I had The film industry has long been a very inequitable place for creatives, for the people who create content and films and TV. You have to excuse me because I'm a bit sick. But yeah,
That's
the way the film industry works is that you create a script. You create, obviously, you put a film together. There's a series of ways that you go about financing that film, and the way that it's always been for a very long time is that you go out and you pre-sell a film, which basically means you pick up a sales agent, and then they go and pre-sell your film to 135 territories around the world. They take about 23% of the profits that are made from those sales. And the way it's set up is that you don't actually get the money for those sales up front. They're called pre-sales, but you don't get the money. They're essentially a guarantee. And so as a filmmaker, you then take those guarantees and you have to go to a bank or an institution and you have to borrow that money from an institution, pay, over $500,000 worth of financing fees, depending on your budget. 300 to 500 is like the lowest end. And then you also have to pay interest on that money that you borrow. And that's just to make the film based on these pre-sales. So it's actually the filmmaker's responsibility, and the filmmaker is put into a position very early on where you have this massive loan hanging over your head. It takes about a year to deliver a film, so the interest is accruing the whole time. We're talking about interest on millions of dollars. Gold, for instance, was a budget of about 10 million. For anyone who's seen it, it's a pretty contained film. So, but we had to go out and loan that, and then we deliver the film, and then you go and collect all the money for the pre-sales, which then goes to pay back the bank minus the fees and minus the interest that has accrued over that time. Now, one of the other issues is that for every dollar that gets made at the cinema, if you guys go and buy a movie ticket, 60 cents of that dollar goes to the cinema chain. Then the other 40 cents that's left, your distributor takes half of that out of that 40 cents. Your sales agent is collecting that 23% that you originally did the deal with. Then you start paying back the overages, which is the bank interest that you have to pay. Then if anyone who actually invested in your film to make up the budget, then they start to get paid back, and then it trickles down to the filmmakers after that. And so the way it's engineered is basically it services every single middleman in the process, and the profits for a film, on average, can generate for about 25 to 30 years. But the way the accounting practices are also set up is that the distributors hire their in-house marketing teams to market the film, and then they charge a higher rate than what the going rate is for those in-house things, and essentially are paying their own wages. The sales agent that goes to sell your film, it's the filmmaker that pays for them to go on their business class trips to Cannes and to all these festivals around the world and have all these dinners and put on this thing. And so a film is set up that a film has to make at least 3 times its budget back in order for profit to start coming in the door. And so filmmakers just don't receive any profit from their films. So an example of that is my film Gold. And that's sold to every single territory around the world. It's got Zac Efron as the lead. I've watched millions of dollars come through the door since we made that film. All that money has gone to all the middlemen, and I'm actually still yet to get paid to actually make the film. And so not many people know this about the film industry. It's a really bad system that really doesn't reward creatives at all, and it's very unfair. And so when NFTs came around, it really blew my mind, because I saw, instantly I recognized that here we are with an artist that's created a piece of art, or, and there is a blockchain that allocates a certain royalty or percentage that goes back to the originator of the concept. And it's on the blockchain. You can't argue it. There's no dodgy accounting practices. People can't, charge overheads and then, dilute the profits that come through. It cuts out all the middlemen out of the process. It's essentially on the blockchain. Someone buys the piece of art. The only middleman really in the process is the minting platform, who takes a percentage of it. And then the money goes in perpetuity forever. Every time that thing's bought and sold, it goes back to the originator. And we've all heard stories about, my favorite artist is Basquiat. And, when he was selling his paintings in the day of Andy Warhol, he would sell a painting for $5-6 grand, and that'd be what he'd get. And it would get him by to live until he sold his next piece. But now these pieces of art are changing hands in the top end of town for $100 million. Some of his artworks are actually priceless. So what you now have in the art world is a bunch of very, very wealthy people, the 1%, that are just trading these pieces of art and making money off them, but nothing ever goes back to the artist, and nothing ever goes back to the estate of the artist. And it's wrong. It's not the way it should work. So Web3 for me, and crypto in particular, is a really important step to bring Hollywood to Web3, to make meaningful profit participation for creatives. And so when the metaverse has come along, part of our rollout plan, and I'll get into all that kind of stuff as well, is that we want to use the metaverse platforms, and we've got a bunch of partnerships, really big metaverse partnerships that we're going to announce this quarter, the quarter 4 and quarter 1 for some of them. And what that is as part of our ecosystem, we have a film streaming service called FilmCrib, and that's an emerging filmmakers platform that's got over 100 short films on there. There's horror films, there's 12 Academy Award films, there's top-tier festival winners, there's sci-fi, there's everything you could ever want on there. There's interviews with established filmmakers and film practitioners, from makeup artists from Dawn of the Dead to the guys that did Aquaman and Elvis, to directors of Wolf Creek franchise. There's a whole, bunch of stuff, and we're doing these interviews every week and drop them on the Crib. And so what the Crib is, the Film Crib, is a vehicle that we're going to roll out into the metaverse partnerships as a virtual cinema chain, and that will eventually host the Retrogression film, which is the one we're talking about today with the NFTs, which is my next film project. And what that means is that you have a distribution and exhibition model that goes out across a brand new community across the metaverse, where we gate this content, where people can use crypto, or use our token, or use fiat to purchase tickets. And then every cent that is made from that film goes back into the ecosystem, back to the creators, so that we can keep creating more content, and so that we can start financing some of the short filmmakers, the emerging filmmakers that are also on the platform, so that we can kickstart their careers and not become a middleman for them, just support them on their journey. And it also is great for us because it brings more content to the Film Crib. People can go on there. There's a lot of free content on there, and there'll be certain aspects of it that will be gated in terms of, people will pay a rental in the same way that you would with the Apple Store or the Google Store. And so what the plan with Retrogression is that we roll the film out in the theaters, in the cinemas, then we do a deal there with distribution, and that makes the film eligible for the Academy Awards, because it has to have a theatrical run, which is why you see all the big Netflix films that come out, they all have a theatrical run first, and that qualifies them for the Academy Awards. After that, usually you would dump it straight, or the people who bought it off the filmmaker would dump it straight to the streaming services, and they would do a one-off deal. Now, what that does is it means that they sign it over to Netflix or one of those, big companies, and they pay a fee for it, but then there's no more revenue stream coming in for that film. It's a quick flip, and it cuts off revenue stream forever. So while Netflix coming along was a really great thing, because it meant that filmmakers could go direct to a streaming platform They could cut out all these middlemen. Netflix, the way it works for anyone who doesn't know, is that you as a filmmaker take your film to Netflix, and then you show them the budget. They give you what the budget of the film is, but they also give you a premium on top of that, that you as a filmmaker get that premium. And so that becomes your profit participation. But the bad thing about it is that once you sell it to Netflix, that's it. There's no more sales. There's no more revenue. So having a virtual cinema chain across the metaverse means that we're able to control it. We will set a metaverse window, so it goes from theaters to the metaverse, and then it's available on rental platforms and things like that. So it's really a kind of revolutionary distribution and finance model that we're talking about to really shake up Hollywood and make it more fair for creatives. And so Retrogression, which we're here to talk about, is my next film, and that is the centerpiece of showing that this new way can work and bringing a major blockbuster film to Web3.
Awesome. So I kind of believe that you are a revolutionary. I like to see you like a revolutionary with regards to what you're trying to do with solving the problem that Netflix has brought. But I'm also aware that you, in the process of building the film crib, you have two tokens, the R2G and the crib tokens. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we have the RTGN token, which is the film token, and as part of the ecosystem, Retrogression is a film. It's a sci-fi trilogy, and we'll cast an A-list actor in the same way that I cast Zac Efron. It'll be one of the guys that I know that I've worked with, or another A-list actor. And as part of that, we want to create a long simmering relationship between audiences and filmmakers. And so part of that process is that it's not just a film. We start with NFTs, and our NFTs, for anyone who hasn't seen, I've dropped a promo video in the chat for you to have a look at after this. The NFTs are characters from the Retrogression film. So I've written the screenplay with my co-writer Daniel Krieg, and that's written, and it's set 350 years in the future. I will get to it at a later. I always have a lot to say on these anime. It's set 350 years, and it's hard because it's such a big project that it kind of needs a bit of context here and there to explain it. And so the Retrogression film is set 350 years after the Great Climate Wars have taken place, and the Great Climate Wars in the context of this story is that we completely fucked the planet. We got greedy. The top end of town kept using fossil fuels. We all know the story. And then there was a great war that took place, and all the the environmental freedom fighters, these different factions, got together and overthrew the governments of the world and became CHAD, which is the Climate Heroes Against Destruction. And they became the new world order, or the new government, and they set about transforming the world by building these eco-cities that are completely carbon neutral, to basically take us into the future and protect mankind and the future of mankind and protect the planet. And so the film starts 350 years after that, and our lead character is Ben Hammond, and he works on blockchain, and his father has created a system that rewards everyone with the RTGN token. And so this is talking about the token and the integration. And the RTGN token in the film is awarded to citizens according to their carbon footprint. So the lower your carbon emissions and the lower your carbon footprint and the more carbon neutral you are, the more tokens you earn. And all other currencies have been discontinued in the future. So the whole world is operating on the RTGN token. And so he gets called away to the Omega military compound, which is the home of the Dark Army, which is our NFT soldiers, and General McKinsky, who's the head of the Dark Army. And when he gets over there, because there's been a terrorist attack on the military base, and his father was the one who implemented the security systems on the blockchain, and so he's one of the only ones who knows how to do it. So he goes out there, and then he finds out that the Chads are actually in cahoots with big business, and they're greenwashing. And what they're doing is giving these illegal kickbacks to all the construction companies who are building these eco-cities, these new eco-cities, and he uncovers that they're using slave labor on the other islands and the other poorer countries in the world to develop the carbon neutral products and building materials to build these eco cities. And so once he finds that out, he has to escape from the Omega military compound. He gets hunted down by the Dark Army, headed by General McKinsey, and he goes through these underground situations, through the Kappa slums, and he's got to try and find his father, and he's got the army after him. He's got the People's Resistance soldiers after him because he's one of the only ones who can bring the security systems back up and down. And he finds out that these terrorists weren't terrorists at all. They're actually freedom fighters. So he meets up with them at the end of the film, and then he gets double-crossed, and he has unfortunately handed over control of these floating orbs, which are these hovering kind of deadly balls that float in the sky and police everyone and make them do the slave labor, to this new leader of the Pat Army, who is now dead set on becoming the new world power. And so the film talks about environmental issues, but it also talks about the cyclical nature of power and how power corrupts, and how there are uprisings in the world that start off for good reasons, and then ultimately we're corrupted again. And if you look back on history, this is what happens time and time again. So so as part of that ecosystem, and this is getting back to the token the long way, we're developing an Unreal Engine game based on the film. So you can go through the worlds of the Gleaming Cities, you go through the Omega military base, and it's all developed on Unreal Engine as a 3D rendered world. And so the NFTs, which are the characters from the film, they come as boxed figurines in the same way that Star Wars has collectibles. And you can take those into the metaverse partnerships that we're going to announce, unbox them, and they become your avatars in our Unreal Engine game. So you can be the characters from the film inside the game based on the film across the metaverse. And then ultimately those characters end up being in the movie itself as well. So the RTGN token services the play to earn aspects of the game, which will be introduced. And the NFTs can be collected and purchased with the RTGN token to unlock new experiences and secret levels and things like that in this immersive gaming experience. So that's the RTGN token. And one of the other important parts of that token is that the RTGN token rewards the filmmakers, the emerging filmmakers that are on the Film Crib platform. So all the filmmakers that have their movies on there, and there's over 100 of them there, they all get rewarded per views with the RTGN token. So we're supporting emerging filmmakers. And then we want to build relationships with those filmmakers so that when we finish the retrogression film, then we can start financing their long form content, their films, and build up this into a bigger streamer. The Crib token, on the other hand, is for the Film Crib, and so it's because it's on the BSC chain. It means that there are lower gas fees, and so in terms of all the gated content that is on there, it'll be part of the play to earn system as well. It's the watch to earn token on the Film Crib. So we'll be implementing watch to earn very shortly, so that if you watch the movies on the Film Crib, you can earn the Film Crib token. And the beauty of that is that we reward the community for watching the content, and at the same time it drives the views up for the filmmakers, who then get rewarded with the RTGN token. So it actually is an ecosystem that just it helps community, and it helps the filmmakers, and it also helps us because as part of the Film Crib we put 15-second pre-roll ads before the content. And so we're able to then generate revenue for the ecosystem from those views that will be driven up by the watch to earn token. And so when the films come out and when there's gated community, and all the way through, we're going to give unprecedented access to the creation of a Hollywood blockbuster. So we'll be streaming everything to do with the production and pre-production of the film through the Film Crib cinema, so that you can keep up to date with everything we're doing. It'll be unprecedented access. There'll be live streams from the set that you can tap into, all that sort of stuff. And so you can use the BSC token, the Crib token, for that. And you can also rent the film when the film drops on there with the BSC token. So that's the tokens.
That's absolutely amazing. I mean, if you heard that they're gonna have you're gonna if you bought into these NFTs, you're gonna have avatars that can literally experience the metaverses in which they're building partnerships with. I mean, that's absolutely crazy. These metaverses that are being built, and these avatars could cost so much more or could be worth so much more in the future. So you have gone into the future, and what you're trying to do is, you know, because in order to be able to create something different in the space, you have to be able to see into the future and realize that hey, there's an aspect, of the crypto space that can be tapped into, and this is what you try to do with the whole concept of the whole avatar and the
You're
watch to earn.
you're
A lot
yeah,
of
you're
a lot
absolutely.
of people, yeah. I mean, it's crazy because I mean we pay to watch TV basically, and what you try to do is reverse that, by paying us for watching because to be honest, a lot is made from ads revenue by these big companies, and that's the basic problem of Web 2, and you're trying to do this differently in Web 3 by giving the power back to people, and that's totally amazing. Now I know that you have built utility, but just for the sake of those who do not know about RTGN and Crib, what kind of utility have you built, so far?
Yeah, well, the film crib is our main utility, and then the game will be our next big utility. So you touched on something then, which was really important. And the thing about a successful ecosystem, from my point of view, is that you need to be solving a problem.
Yeah,
And we've been talking with metaverse partners for a while now, and we've been talking to some pretty heavy hitters. Like, they're not our partnerships aren't partnerships that have formed in the Telegram with companies that are just starting up. We're talking about metaverses that have got billions of dollars worth of and multi-million dollars worth of finance behind them. So one of the things we realized is that the metaverse at the moment is a bit of a buzz term. We all know about it. No one really knows where it's going
yeah,
to go and what it's kind of crosses a lot of things, and it's open to interpretation at the moment. And so the thing about the metaverse is there's billions of dollars being put into virtual real estate. People are buying up all these places. There are huge companies that are going into the metaverse, like Nike and Adidas and
yeah,
Gucci and car companies and all these kind of things, and they're all setting up shop fronts in these metaverses. So there's all this money changing hands. But the one issue with the metaverse at the moment is that it doesn't have anything to do in there. These are empty worlds, and even one of the biggest ones, Decentraland,
yeah. Mm,
needs content. And so we found,
mm,
talking to these big companies, that simply by having a streaming service that has content on it is a way of them retaining their audiences and building up their own communities outside of the builders. We're talking about there's
thanks.
the building aspect of the metaverse, there's the finance aspect of the metaverse, and the next thing that they're all turning to is they've got to build their communities. They've got to build users, active users. And so the film crib has really been a revelation in terms of opening doors for us, and putting the retrogression film into there, because to be the first film with an A-list Hollywood actor, or more than an A-list Hollywood actor, to be distributed via the metaverse is a really big deal. It's a massive coup for the metaverses themselves. And so what you're
Yeah,
doing is you're essentially solving a problem, which is they need
yeah.
community in there. The next step.
I like,
So
yeah, I like the fact that you touched partnerships, because I was about to talk about that. So we know that for any project to expand, you need partnerships. So what partnerships have you secured so far? I know you have been working hard on that. Are you allowed to say some of that? And for those that you you're allowed to say, so what's
yeah,
the information with regards to that?
it's a tricky one because when you kind of you see a lot of partnerships form in the Telegram space all the time, and generally they can be a good handshake deal over the Telegram, and they help grow communities together and things like that. And the issue, well, it's not an issue. The great thing, but also what is time consuming, is that the partnerships that we've developed and are developing that we haven't announced yet, and there's probably about 5 major partnerships that we're going to announce in the coming quarter. You're dealing with CEOs, you're dealing with boards, and things don't move like they move in this space. We've all seen things moon and projects really fly in 5 minutes in this space, and partnerships readily entered into in this space. But we're setting our targets a little bit higher, and with that means that you're dealing with CEOs, you're dealing with a lot of money, you're dealing with a lot of integration, and so that takes time. But on the upside of that is you're dealing with very well resourced, very well financed companies that are lending their marketing teams to us to grow our community. So part of our integration deals is that we get to lean on all their resources, all their marketing teams, and they pay $50,000 a month for these guys to really market us when we do these announcements and push this forward. So these things take time to go into, and these partnerships have been months in the making. And it's also about fitting into their roadmaps as well. So they obviously are, very well-oiled machines, and they have huge roadmaps that they're doing and things that they're rolling out. And so part of a true integration, rather than just a handshake agreement, is that it's a timing aspect. Our roadmap and their roadmap have to meet at a certain place so that their platform is ready to receive the integration that we're bringing. And so, that's something that we've all been working towards, but we're there now. So one of the ones that we have kind of dropped the name of early in the piece was the Human Park Metaverse. And those guys are the creators of Zed Run, which is the virtual horse racing NFT game, which most people know about. And they've, when we announced our first partnership at the beginning, and it hasn't been officially announced yet, by the way, we just have talked about it, their metaverse wasn't ready. And so, we learn a lesson even in that, is that, we put that information out there, and then people want to know when that's going to happen. And so we learn our lesson there, that we're not going to make announcements until announcements are ready to be made, until the integration is ready to be done. But what I can say is that a few of those major announcements are coming in the coming weeks and months, which are really big for us. So that will mean that when it's announced, the integration will be ready to go. I know the Human Park integration, firstly, I believe will be about integrating the NFTs into their thing. And if you have a look, they've now launched the first part of their metaverse platform, and you can go in there, and it's pretty cool. It's all Unreal Engine 3D rendered stuff. So we'll be building a version of our game in there. You'll be able to take your NFTs, and the attributes will carry over, so that you can go into a costume store and put all your bits and pieces on, and then get other little NFT costumes to build out your character, and walk around their metaverse and explore it. And we'll also be implementing our Film Crib streaming service into that as well. So that's one that we have talked about. The other ones I'm not going to mention yet, but they are very, very, very soon. So we're really excited about that, because they've been very helpful.
I like the fact that you spoke about the NFTs, and I was about to talk about it. So I hear something big is happening with regards to the NFTs. Can you tell us a bit about that?
So the NFTs, our first official Launchpad partnership is with Mintable, and they go live for whitelisters. And I think you guys are giving away some whitelists today on the 30th of September, which is only a few days away. And whitelist will get 24 hours to get in there and get their NFT. And they are 3D rendered characters from the film. And so the first ones we released are the Dark Army and General McKinsky.
Yeah.
The cool thing about them, apart from the integration into the metaverses and all that stuff that's going to happen, is that there are things attached to them, Hollywood-style perks attached to them. So there are cameo roles in the film. There are executive producer credits. There is exclusive access to live streams while we film so that you guys can tap in and watch us actually on set. There are beta game testing passes. There are signed posters from the cast. There's Zoom meetings with the cast and filmmakers. There are real props from the film and real costumes, so you could end up with the costume that was worn by the A-list actor in the film, and we send that to you. There are virtual versions of those. So they're all expenses paid visits to the set, so you can come to the set and actually watch it. There's premiere tickets and things like that. So there's all these really cool perks attached to them, so that if you get these NFTs, do hold on to them. Although they'll probably, hopefully though, as we move into closer to production and our game's out and we start spreading across these communities, they'll probably the value will increase in these NFTs. So maybe hold on to them. And so that's all the exciting stuff there. And so the Dark Army is the first lot. Then we're going to release the Resistance Soldiers, which is the People's Army against tyranny. And then we're going to do the supporting characters and the lead characters. And the great thing about those ones is that we're working on a partnership at the moment with a company that does 3D scanning. And so we're actually going to scan the actual actors that appear in the film for the NFTs and then put them in a box so that you'll actually have the A-list actor as your avatar, fully 3D, and as the character in the costume from the film. So that's an exciting part of it as well. And so if you don't get a whitelist, then the public is the next day. That's on the 1st of October. And that's at 0001 UTC these times. So as soon as it clicks over past midnight. And then our second platform NFT launchpad partnership is with Mogul Productions. And they're a decentralized specific film platform. And so we'll be doing another run of the Dark Army in gold and chrome and hologram. And they'll have all these great perks and things attached to them as well. You'll be able to collect the whole set as we move closer to production.
That's totally amazing. I hear the cost of these. What's the cost of these NFTs?
They are 0.15 ETH, so I think currently it's about $200 per NFT.
Yeah. So I think that is a really, really good bargain. If you check the perks and utility, I mean, having a cameo role in a movie, that's a lot. That's a lot to put on your resume.
Not bad.
Yeah. A lot of people will pay more than that to be able to have that. So that's a lot. And having executed.
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
And, having go on, brother.
If you land okay, I'm going to let you go. You go.
Yeah. No, anytime I try to let you go, I just step in because I'm excited about this project. But then I will let you talk this time. And not.
I tend to talk too much. Anyway, I imagine if you do the onset visit and you that comes with flights and accommodation, and you get to come and visit the set while we're shooting. I mean, that's going to be worth more than $200 if you get that one.
Definitely,
so,
definitely. I mean, it's there are a lot of things that you can get with regards to having an NFT that is worth much more than $200. I mean, the one that's catching my eye right now is the all expense, paid on-set visit. So and that's a lot. That's worth much more than $200. And the real props and costumes. I mean, you keep this, and in time it might be worth much more. So I think you should grab those NFTs. I actually have 10 whitelists. And 6 are taken already. If you know that you would like to have, if you would like to have the others, just send me a DM and I'm gonna send it to you. So
I'll tell you what,
I'm going
to give you another 5 because there's 74 participants here. So why don't you bump that up? I'll give you another 5.
Okay, so if you want those NFTs, make sure you send me a DM. I'll be selecting it on a first come first take basis. So yeah, and make sure that you're indicating how many NFTs that you want, so I can know how many wallets that need whitelisting. And talking about, were you about to say something?
I was just going to say I think there's a limit of 2 per whitelist, 2 NFTs. So
Yeah,
one wallet can get 2, I believe.
yeah, awesome, awesome. So now what's the long term vision of Field Creep? A lot of the time, especially in the crypto space, um, a lot of the time, a lot of projects are really short term. A project begins in 2 months, in 3 months, it's over already. But Film Crib is
Yeah.
standing strong after 7 months, if I'm not mistaken. And so I strongly believe that you have a long term plan. So what's the long term vision of Film Crib in a couple years, couple months? Where do you see Film Crib at?
Yeah, it's always hard when launching tokens. I mean, even the biggest ones in this market since we launched, and we launched, at the beginning of the bear market, inevitably, a token will go up, and I think we mooned instantly to 8 million on the RTGN and over 1 million on the Crib token. And then every token eventually finds its floor, and that's what we've done, which is great. And that takes time. And through
Yeah,
this market, it's been really tricky. That's been part of the problem, is that you have, investors in things, and there's not a lot you can do about market sentiment. But what you can do to survive as an ecosystem is just continue building and making partnerships. And so we've been focusing our attention on that, and having marketing strategies and partnerships, so that when we're launching in the short term, which is in this quarter, it'll be NFTs with those partner platforms. You'll see some integration, and you'll start to see the Film Crib roll out as a virtual cinema chain across the metaverses. You'll start to see us develop the game on Unreal Engine and then implement that in quarter 4 and quarter 1 of next year. So they're the short-term goals for it. The film takes a little bit to get together. It's a big budget film, and so we're raising the
yeah,
finance through partnerships as well, and that's coming along well. And obviously all our play to earn game and our taxes and everything all contribute to financing that film as well. But when we launched, we said the film was a little way off, and the idea was always to create a really long simmering relationship between our IP and audiences, so that they can get the characters, then they can be in the game, and then one of the other things we're doing is we're working with brands as well. So we're talking to brands at the moment to integrate things like
yeah,
electric car companies, costumes that can be co-designed by big clothing labels and things like that, where we finance the film
yeah,
that way. Do co-drop NFTs and integrate them into the thing. There's virtual billboards that will be in our game that we will lease out. So there's all these different revenue streams that then contribute to the making of the film. And so as I touched on at the very beginning of this, what we need to do is we need to make sure that while we're putting the finance together for this film, that we're not just recreating the same issue that we face at the moment with the current financing model. And so what that does,
yeah,
it just there's a little bit of greasing of the wheels that needs to happen, where, with our partnerships and kind of pushing these companies to invest in us without expecting the return from it. It's more about exposure, and it's more about supporting filmmakers and supporting this new way of making films, which will be great for the
yeah,
metaverse, for all the metaverse platforms, to meaningfully bring Hollywood and blockbuster films to Web3. And so that's working really well. It takes time, but so in the short term, grab your NFTs. In the short term, but not as short, you'll be in the game. You'll be able to. You can go on the Film Crib now. It's available on Android and the iOS app stores, or you
yeah,
can just go to filmcrib.io and start watching all the content. In the short term, we'll be rolling out the Watch to Earn part of that, the D app built into the website, and I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure the announcements for 2 of the metaverse platforms are within weeks. So we'll be able to release exactly what that means and what you can do, and you'll start to see some real integration then, which will be the beginnings of it, and also a big marketing campaigns to push us wider than just these communities and really get behind us, because they want to see it grow as well.
That's amazing. Just so you know, guys, there's the FilmCrib app. You can have the FilmCrib app on your app stores, on your Apple app stores or your Google Play stores. And there's a lot of interesting content in there. We had I think there was a horror movie festival just a couple of months ago, and it was fun. You will find a lot of interesting content in there, movies in there, and it's totally free. Jiffy, the Watch to Earn will be implemented. So, so far so good. That's the questions that I have. Do you have anything you want to talk about before we go to getting questions from the audience?
Not really. I mean, we've spent months in our space. There's a different sort of crowd in this space, and I've been in the crypto space for a while myself. And so, the expectation is that, there's a lot of moon boys out there that want things to moon instantly. But, the downside of that is that people get burnt all the time and they get rugged and they lose their money. And so, we just want to let people know that this is a safe space for everyone. It's not don't buy into the token and expect a times 20 overnight. This is the type of project where if you do feel like investing, then grab what you can afford. Don't overextend yourself and just let it ride for a while. Exactly. Because as we know, this thing's going to become massive, and it's going to reach a lot of communities outside of this, and it's going to really boom eventually. But we have a great channel now where we have a lot of loyal supporters in there who know the deal, and so it's a very cool community that are all in for the long term, and it's actually a breath of fresh air, from what I do as well. And we're also a project that doesn't make promises. We don't make announcements until things are ready. So we're not a hype channel. We don't rely on hype. We rely on real integration. And those things may take longer. So, you buy in, hold tight, hang out. We're a fun community, and do what good communities do, which is spread the word and tell people. And that's the best way you can kind of help your bag if that's what you're into. Or if you're just into gaming and collecting NFTs, then, that's a fun part of it. We want the whole experience to be entertainment based. We're an entertainment ecosystem. So we just want it to be fun for people. And we want people to be able to sleep at night without worrying about being rugged and all this bullshit that goes on in this space all the time.
So sad.
So that's us.
Awesome. Yeah, so I don't want to keep talking because I don't get exhausted when it comes to questions. So I think it's time to take questions from the community. Hey guys, so this is your opportunity. If you have a question, just raise your hand and I'm gonna unmute you. If you have been unmuted already, take your time and ask your question in an orderly fashion. So, do we have any questions in here? Anybody want to ask any questions? I see a couple of hands. And just get to them. If you have any questions, I see a couple of people, Chief Lyricist, Paragon, Nelks. Do you guys have any questions for Anthony? Okay, I'm gonna assume that just going through again to be sure that I have not oversighted somebody did when it asking a question. Okay, great. So, yeah, so just reiterating what you spoke about not too long ago, listeners, we know that we are in a beer market, and it's really, really important to do your own research, but while doing that, I think they invest in tokens that have real utility, as Anthony has described. Is really, really important. It might be the best route because if you are seeking a long-term investment that could turn into a fortune in the future, I suggest that you take a good look at this and at our teaching in Crib. This is not financial advice though, but it's just me saying that, especially in the beer market, you cannot just put your money in anything. It will be better putting it in a token that has real life utility. So yeah, that's that for me. So without any questions from the audience, I'm gonna just have a second loop to be sure that nobody is raising their hands. I'll go ahead and say it was nice having you, Anthony. And
Thanks for having me,
yeah,
David.
yeah, we're glad to. It's not always that you get to have a Hollywood, um, director and actor in a voice chat. I heard that you have been in a couple of movies with people like Brad Pitt and the likes. What was it like
Yeah,
being? Yeah, and you recently actually directed and co-starred in a movie featuring Zac Efron. What was Zac like? Was he arrogant
yeah,
or
he's
was he
awesome.
down to earth?
He
Oh,
was really
amazing!
good. Yeah, it was a really brutal shoot. For anyone who hasn't seen it, you can rent Gold. I think in America it's on Hulu at the moment, or you can rent it in all the countries around the world. But I warn you,
Yeah,
it's a brutal film. It's a very brutal survival film. But he was
yeah,
excellent. The conditions were horrendous. It was shot in the middle of the Australian desert, in the middle of summer, the worst time to do it. We stayed out in the middle of nowhere in an old mining town that had all these houses empty because the mine had shut down years ago. And so I think it was a kind of relief for him to go out into the middle of nowhere where he doesn't get hassled. But he
yeah,
was great. He's in the film 90% of it. It's just him alone surviving against the elements. We had sandstorms that we got blown out for days, and that ends up in the film. And he was a real
yeah.
trooper. I mean, one of
I
the great things is in the script we had a sandstorm that we'd written into it, and we had paid to have all these massive fans and these trucks and things come up and all this movie dirt. You have to use movie dirt because it's clean and safe and things like that. And so we paid a fortune for all these things and effects guys to come up to create a sandstorm. And when we got there, we were sitting on our asses, not able to shoot for 2 days because these sandstorms were so bad that we couldn't see anything. And so after 2 days, we only had a 21-day shoot. I just said to the producers, man, this is what we've actually been waiting for. This is what we're trying to shoot, right? And then everyone's like, you can't
yeah,
put Zac Efron in a sandstorm. You just can't do that. He's a Hollywood star. And so I kind of ducked around and went and grabbed him and took him aside and said, dude, this is, we want to do this, right? This is the real, real filmmaking. And he goes, fuck yeah, buddy.
yeah,
And so agreed to it. We just went out there and we shot what we were supposed to shoot in like a day and a half in about 2 hours. And it was just nuts. We
yeah,
just had the cinematographer put the camera on his back and we couldn't see anything. And he's running around and we're screaming across the set. It was actually one of the most fun experiences I've ever had on set. And, he spent every day of that shoot lying on the ground in the hot sun. And, he was fantastic. So I can't thank him enough for putting his all into it. And those things can go either way when you're dealing with A-list actors. You could get
yeah,
someone out there who just is an asshole or just goes, I don't want to deal with it. Where's my trailer? Where's my air conditioning? Where's all the things I'm used to?
yeah.
I'm not being on that set. It's too hot. But he never did that once, and he was riding for the ride, which is great. So it was an excellent experience, and I
Awesome.
thank him dearly.
That's totally amazing. I knew that somebody wanted to ask a question. I just missed him. CC Jeters, you've been unmuted, brother. What's your question? Are you there, CC?
Hey, man. Sorry, I had a network problem. So thank
It's
you
okay.
very much. It's kind of like amazing to see what Hollywood wants to do here in the crypto space and how they want to integrate their movies and then try to make this P2E games and stuff. And according to what I'm looking at here in the description, I see you have a P2E game and then you're also planning to make a metaverse, I'd say, or metaverse. Yeah, metaverse. You want to make that. That's pretty cool and awesome. So I had this coming through my mind, and then I wanted to know if you guys plan on, you're gonna make sci-fi movies, right? So perhaps on each sci-fi movie, depending on the length of the movie or the characters in the movie or whatever, yeah, just depending on the movie. So long as it's a sci-fi movie, perhaps you could also have an extra game, uh, a game linked to the movie, something like that. Then it's kind of well, some movies have this comic, right? Like related to the movie. So I would say you having this game related to the movie too. Perhaps whatever happens in the movie, it's also added onto the game, and then this VR stuff in the metaverse.
Yeah, it's that's the fun thing about it for me, because as we develop it's a trilogy, obviously, Retrogression. So the first film is written, we've written that film, and so the game initially will be based on that first film. But what we plan to do going forward is that we take all the data from the NFT sales, we take the data from the game, we take all this data about how our community and other communities engage with the IP and what they're interested in. And we see it very similar to the way Star Wars, farms out their IP, in that, there are certain characters in Star Wars that you would never dream when you watch the initial film that they would then have their own films or their own TV series. And so what you're able to do with an IP that has this kind of scope is listen to the community and take all the data back from all our utilities, and then be led in a way by the community about what they're more interested in. And then that can be part of the second and third film of the franchise, as we can take all that information and then direct the rest of the story based on what people are interested in. But the other fun thing about it too is that in a similar way to Star Wars, is that the game will start off very based on the world of the first film. But that doesn't mean that the game will necessarily has to stay on the path of the film either. Is that if there's certain characters that people are more into, or certain worlds within that, because there's a few worlds in the game, then we're able to then expand upon those worlds and be led by the community in terms of exploring other characters and subplots. And we could dive deeper into the resistance soldiers and into where they come from and who they are and why they are like that. And so what I love about bringing Play to Earn to film is that it's essentially the same creative juices that you have. You're actually telling a narrative story. And so what I'm really interested in is using gaming and using NFTs to actually tell a narrative and to make it storytelling in the same way that film is. And it's interesting you said, that Hollywood wants to come to the metaverse. The thing is that a lot of Hollywood, the big players, don't want to come to the metaverse because they have their structures set up at the moment that serve them very well. They just don't serve the creatives. So we're kind of disrupting that pattern in a sense. But what you'll find is that, every filmmaker that I've ever spoken to, since I started when I was 9 years old, have all had the same issue, which is, why aren't I rewarded for the things that I create? Why am I always last in line for meaningful profit participation? And so what this will do is open up that door. There'll be a lot of press that will be generated around the world outside of crypto in terms of this revolutionary model. And we will see a lot of people come into this space from Hollywood as they learn that there is another place to tell stories, and there is another community that we can reach, and there is another way to do it that is more engaging over a longer period of time. So we're not just dropping a movie that you go and see, and as soon as the credits roll, that's the end of the experience. You're actually able to experience it all the way through the process. You're able to experience through NFTs, through gaming, through the film crib, and beyond. And then once you finish the film, you can come back into the world, and that world will be expanded even further. So that's what we're about, really, is creating a really long, simmering, very deep, intimate relationship between IP and audience. And that's what gets me excited the most, because it's very creative, and it's very rewarding for me as a creative, and it's very rewarding for the community as well. So I'm excited.
Yeah, and like you said, it's very creative. I really appreciate what you're really trying to build here, and it's pretty good trying to bring something into the space and then letting people write the story, just kind of like continue the story on from there. And yeah, the community will appreciate what you're trying to build. So I also had this question again as you were talking about, like, yeah, I know you have this movies and then you create the stories, and then when you're done, it's hosted, and perhaps your movie may feature on Netflix or Amazon Prime, whatever your movie may feature on. You guys are gonna pay a lot, perhaps to maintain or perhaps to push the movie there onto Netflix, and then focusing back on your game as another world. And then with the metaverse, you also have to manage the blockchain and then the server where the game is going to be hosted, and then perhaps if you have a subscription model, you pay for that. So it's kind of like a double revenue, right? So I want to know if you have skilled developers to manage all of this stuff, or you guys are going to make recruits, and then I don't know how you guys are going to manage your revenue model, how you guys are going to gain revenue. You're going to spend a lot, right? Like on your movie, hosting the movie, and then hosting the metaverse and the game and the server subscriptions. That's kind of like a lot of money you're gonna spend. So
Yeah.
if you have means of doing that, like managing all of that.
Yeah. So to answer the question, it's actually not. We're not actually building a metaverse. So we are partnering with metaverse platforms. So we're not hosting the servers. We're not paying for that. The actual metaverse partnership platforms are doing that. So what we're doing is integrating into existing metaverse platforms, using their servers, integrating into them. The costs are covered by them. They have Unreal Engine devs in each of those metaverse partnerships that we work with. We also have our own Unreal Engine team that we work with as well to build the assets for those. So in terms of the costs and the integration, that's not actually borne by us, which is what's freeing about this whole thing. We're not going to build our own metaverse. We're just going to exist on as many metaverse platforms as we can, as a game, as a virtual cinema, and integration of our NFTs. So that's been the careful model at the moment. I mean, there's a lot of people in this space that are going, I'm building a metaverse. And the first thing I say is exactly what you say, which is, I hope you've got $100 million to do that or more, because that's what it takes to build a metaverse and to maintain it. So we're not doing that. That's not what we do. We're the IP, and we distribute and exhibit our IP into these existing spaces using their resources, their teams, their marketing teams, their devs, in conjunction with our devs who are more creative based. We need to make sure that the game is based on the film and based on the script. So in terms of all the creative vision and the building of the assets and the design of the assets, that's our team. In terms of the integration to the blockchain and the integration of those assets onto the platforms, that's done in conjunction with their dev teams. And so that's the exciting part about it, is when we enter these partnerships, which we're talking about, they're not handshake partnerships, and this is why they take a long time. We're actually asking these guys for an enormous amount of their resources and an enormous amount of their money to implement this stuff. They're giving us free virtual real estate, which costs thousands of dollars to put our virtual film crib in all these spaces. They're giving us the land to have the gaming experience in there in VR and on Unreal Engine. So, we don't bite off more than we can chew. We, have a very specific roadmap about what our strengths are, what we do as a company and as a project, and make sure that the integration is such that it's taken care of on their end. And that's what's exciting about it. Is I'm not into that. I don't know that stuff. I'm not going to pretend to know it, and that's why you work with the best. It's similar to making a film. I make a film. You bring in, everyone's seen the credits of a movie. You have 200, 300, 400 names at the end of a film, and as a producer and a director, you bring in all these people. You hand select them. They're all experts at what they do, and you bring all these people together to facilitate your creative vision. So, building an entertainment ecosystem across the blockchain is no different from the way you organize a film with a $10 million budget and 500 people, is that it's really about making the right connections, finding the people that can facilitate your vision, and everyone works together, and you bring the best to the table to do what they do the best, and you don't pretend you know everything, which is what's great about the experience too, because you learn along the way as well. In terms of the Netflix thing, we're actually trying to avoid Netflix. Netflix is kind of our enemy in a sense, because if you sell the Netflix, that's the end of it. They own the IP. There's no revenue stream that comes in. So that's why we're rolling out our virtual cinema chain across all the metaverse platforms, so that people can watch our film in the metaverse and pay tickets directly to us via our Film Crib streamer. And that way, all revenue stream that comes in for watching the movies will come directly into the ecosystem to then finance the next model. So in terms of revenue streams, there's that, there's the play to earn game, there's the NFTs, there's the token taxes, there's private investment, there's ads on the platform. So there's a lot of carefully considered revenue streams that need to be in this ecosystem, and a lot of carefully developed partnerships that allow us to do the integration we need without bearing the cost ourselves.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, it's I really appreciate what you've tried to build here. Like I said before, and then it's pretty awesome. Sorry, battle leader. I have a last question. It's gonna be my last question.
That's all right.
Okay, cool. So, I actually also, speaking of cinema, I know during your talk you mentioned cinema. So speaking of cinema, I wanted to touch on to make people. But I know you want people to watch a movie, right? Like you really want people to watch a movie and then play a game. So for your movie and for your game to be public, and then a couple of people know about it. There's some features or some utilities I would say you're gonna add to the game. Like as you said, you partner with some metaverse, for metaverse companies. So perhaps in the metaverse you're gonna partner with, not building your own. If you have this way of, perhaps in the movie there was kind of like this club or this bar where the actors, the villains, like they go to drink or something. Well, if it's on the metaverse, and then like people know about that club, right? And it's on the metaverse, perhaps they could pay some B&B or something to get into that club. And then if they want to get into the game, they could have this kind of like game pass or something, but they could be able to go to the game pass. So just things that happen in the movie, right? Everything that happened in the movie, when it's integrated in the game, like building your own houses, owning lots of stuff, clubs, it's kind of like will make users like earn those things and see like in reality what it means. Not really in reality, but in the metaverse, like metaverse reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like they will be able to see everything. So perhaps if you guys kind of like integrated those stuffs in the metaverse, and then people will be able to love the project and then come into APN and then hold NFTs, and it's gonna like be another life for people.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you want. We want people to be able to live the movie, in a virtual world. So everything that we've written the script for the first one already, and everything when we did the drafting process for that, and that takes a while. It took us about 8 months to draft it. We were cognizant the whole way through that everything we put in that script was going to be in a game, whether that be a supporting character, whether that be something that is on the TV in the back of a scene that then becomes something that ends up in the game. There are things that there are certain props that some of the characters are using. There's one in particular that is playing a mini game, so that then we can have the mini game within our world within the game. And so everything has been created from the ground up in terms of the scripting, which has never been done before, to make sure that when you see the film, you can go in the film. You can go and live in the film. And not only that, you can be the character from the film. You can be whatever character you want by purchasing one of those NFTs. So there will be a lot of implementation of secret levels. Like you said, a nightclub that's in there, and there is a nightclub in the thing as well. There's the Kappa slums where you hide out in the things. There's certain a detective story that runs through the game that's similar to the film, so that you may need to hold a certain NFT, or you may need to earn a certain amount of tokens and buy a key to get into this next part of the puzzle to get into another experience. And so that's the idea of it, is that it's a completely immersive experience based on everything that you see in the script. And then we're able to monetize that, and we're able to create revenue streams from all those things. And that can be, things from a really simple point of view, like virtual billboards that we get revenue from for products that are integrated into our film as well. So that the products are on billboards in the film, they're also on billboards in the game. That's advertising revenue from partners there. And then just creating an experience. We want people to walk out of the film and walk into the world of the film. That's what's exciting to me. When the credits roll, that shouldn't be the end of storytelling. It should just be the beginning, and that's what's exciting for me personally.
Oh, that's pretty cool, pretty awesome. Well, you have a good project ahead, so I would say
A lot of work
to the moon.
Yeah, a lot of work to do, but it's fun, and we're building every day, so it's been frustrating at times and a blessing at times, but the vision's very clear, and the roadmap's looking better than what it was when we launched. So we're in for a good ride over the next 2 quarters, which is fantastic. We'll start to really get some integration going and be able to create these experiences for everyone.
Yeah, when you remember you have a lot of things ahead, like a lot of ideas and plans for the future and for the project, it's kind of like keep you guys going, right?
It'll keep us going for a good 10 years. So when I say we're a long-term project, we certainly are. And then once the third film of the trilogy has been done, then we open up the ecosystem as almost like a DAO, where we will bring projects from the emerging filmmakers that are on our platform, that the community will get to vote on which projects we finance next. And then we find IP that is similar to, and it doesn't necessarily have to be sci-fi, but IP that we can replicate the same process and build an experiential game on that IP and roll that out across the partnerships that we have, so that we can continue developing for the next 50 years with IP and really become a force in entertainment technology and creating experiences for people. Because I think most of all what people are looking for in the metaverse are experiences and fun experiences and rewarding experiences. And I think film is the perfect vehicle because it's about storytelling, and that's what experiences is about.
Awesome. Thank you, Cesar Jitters, for those engaging and intelligent questions. I see that we have somebody was unmuted for a while. Our utility hunter. Do you have a question, brother? Utility hunter.
He's hunting utilities from the right place.
Yeah, very, very interesting bio right there. Okay, so probably are. Yep. What did you say?
I was just going to say my kids are about to wake up, so I'll probably have to wrap it up and go and be a dad for a bit.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So, I think we have one more question for Paragon. Paragon, what's your question, brother?
Hello, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, mate.
Yeah, you're audible.
Nice presentation so far. I personally love what you are bringing to the space. It's very, very nice. I just want to ask question concerning one of the utility out there where you made mention of real props and costumes from the movie. Probably you want to be dishing them out, you want to be selling them as one of a way of generating income, which is quite alright. But I want to ask, have you ever think of you know, when a movie is out there and it's kind of popular and they want to get the costumes that are used in the movie, maybe probably there is a body or a community that wants to be known out there. Probably they want to get their name or their logo or on that particular costumes that is going out there. When you sell it out there, it's a kind of making them known to the people around the world. Is there kind of opportunity, this kind of opportunity provided maybe probably later on, so that people will be able to use this kind of opportunity to get publicized, to get the kind of publicity they need. I don't know if you get the question.
I couldn't hear a lot of it. I heard something, I don't know if you did Battle, I heard something about the real props and costumes.
Yeah, I think he was talking. I think he was talking about the costumes. So one of the perks associated with getting these NFTs is that you get to be among people that might receive costumes from the movie set. So I think he's saying that is it possible that these costumes can be donated, to charity or maybe just young people who probably might need it. So I think that's what he's trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with one of the things that we're announcing soon as well. I don't know if I can talk about it really. Anyway, one of the main themes of our film is about climate change, and so there will be a charity element attached to this in terms of that. But yeah, I mean, look, particularly with the Dark Army, there's there's going to be hundreds of soldiers there in those costumes and things like that. This isn't the only NFT collection that will be available, so there's only a few of those things in this collection, and then obviously as we release the other characters, then there's more of that. So, but yeah, I mean, if people want us to donate costumes and things to charity and have auctions and things like that when the film's big, then absolutely, I think that would be an excellent thing. And because the theme of the movie is also, about the 1% taking advantage of the 99% and about inequality and things like that, things that I'm quite passionate about, which is why it's in the film, then absolutely. I mean, I think, we can do a lot of work with charities as well.
Awesome. So, Anthony, it was great having you here. This was a really interesting and entertaining and educative AMA. So for those of you who attended today, stay active in the chat. Be a part of the community. We will have more AMAs going forwards. With rewards, and also we will bring a lot of bullish projects to you, projects that we think are the future of Web3. Will be presented to you, and it's up to you to make the right financial decision. So it was a pleasure having you, and I will let you go back now to your kids and every other
Thanks,
thing
Battle.
that you had. Yeah, and I will send you the whitelist for those of you who still need whitelists. I think I'm yet to check my DM, but I think we have a couple available. If you want it, just send me a DM and I'm gonna send it to you. And yeah, that's it for me. Catch you guys later and have a great evening. Take care.
Thanks, guys.